Here we have a chart about dangerous spiders because we live in Australia. This here is a fruit basket. A fruit basket. At the moment we have some apples, some passion fruit, some mandarins, and a papaya. This is a timer. Some people use their phones these days, but lots of kitchens still have timers. This is a cutting board. You can also call it a chopping board. This one is made of marble, so it's quite heavy. This area here is called the bench top. Most kitchens have a couple of bench tops, so this area here is also called, a bench top. This here is a coffee pot. As you may have noticed, this isn't actually coffee. We use it for tea, so we use it as a teapot. This thing here is a knife sharpener, so it's something you use to sharpen knives. That's the sink, and this is the dishwasher. And one more thing for the kitchen. This is a calendar. We're now in the laundry. This is also Monty's room, so if you see any mess, it belongs to Monty. This here is a washing machine. This one is a top loader, or a top-loading washing machine. It's called that because you put the clothes in the top. Machines that open on the side are called front loaders, or front-loading washing machines. This here is a mop. A very simple word. Mop. Hello, Monty. That noise that you can hear is Monty eating. This thing here is not a mop, this is a broom. Broom. Down here, we have a bucket. Bucket. And this on the ground here is a mat. That is also a mat. Here we have, can you see it? Here we have the clothes dryer, or more, simply the dryer. This is a laundry basket, and in the laundry basket, we have some pegs. So 1 peg, 2 pegs. Here we have an ironing board. An ironing board. This is an iron. Be careful of the pronunciation. I did an entire video on this. This isn't Aaron. In British English, we say AN, and this is a clothes hanger. You can also shorten it and just say hanger. This door here is called a screen door because that part there is a screen. And we have a lot of screen doors in Australia to keep the flies out. This thing here is Monty's bed, and these are Monty's little friends. That's baby Frank. This little thing here is called a doorstop. It's called a doorstop because it can stop a door. This here is for our cat Monty. It's called a climbing frame. We got this for Monty because he's an indoor cat, and this keeps him a little bit amused. Behind me, we have another type of door. This is a sliding, it's noisy. This is a sliding door because it slides. Here we have a table. This is a dining table. These are chairs, but if you want to be specific, you can call them dining chairs. Here we have some more coasters, and these are placemats. So this is what you put plates and bowls and things like that on. Over here, we have a curtain. Be careful of the pronunciation. I know it looks like curtain, but we pronounce it curtain. And this is something that you will find in most Australian homes. This is a fly swatter. We are now in the lounge room. You can also call it a living room. I'm now standing in front of a wall unit. This big piece of furniture made up of lots of little shelves and cupboards is called a wall unit. Now, on the wall units, we've got lots of bits and pieces. These sorts of things are called ornaments. You can also call them knickknacks. Generally speaking, a knick-knack is something that's perhaps a little cheaper, and an ornament is often a little bit more expensive or a bit classier. You can use them interchangeably, but normally people use them like that. So, for example, you might call this an ornament, and this probably a knick-knack. This is called a figurine. A figurine is like a small statue or a sort of doll. These here are candle holders. If you don't know what a candle is, this is a candle, but obviously you'd put smaller ones into these. Here we have a photo frame. This is actually me when I was, going to the formal at the end of high school. Yeah. The thing on the outside is a photo frame. Here we have some books. Now some vocabulary related to books. This here is, oops. I hope no one was reading that. This is a bookmark. This part here is called the spine, just like the spine in our back. The spine of a book. The part on the outside altogether is called the book cover, that there is obviously the television. Normally, we don't say television, though. Usually, we just say TV. This here is a DVD player, and that is a VHS player. Yes, we still have one of those. Now we have a couple of heaters. We don't need these throughout the whole year. Here where we live, we really just use them in winter. And we don't use them at the same time. We did that once by accident and all the lights went out. This here is a fan heater. And this is an oil heater. Over here we have some more coasters, and this is a globe. This thing here is called a liquor cabinet. It's, where we keep alcohol. And this is Frank's favorite part of the house. This here is the couch. You can also call it a sofa, and you can also call it a lounge. We have a cover on our couch, so this is a couch cover. Here we have some more cushions and a blanket. The material covering this floor is called carpet. This is carpet. Carpet is countable and uncountable, so you can say a carpet or some carpet. If you have a small piece of carpet, we would call that a rug. Here we don't have carpet. Here we have tiles. One tile. Several tiles. Here we have some bricks. One brick. Several bricks. And this is our doorbell. This is a more traditional doorbell. Most people nowadays have electronic doorbells that have a little button. This little thing down here is a doorstop. Okay, Monty. So this is when Monty gets angry. We didn't do anything. What's wrong with you? Okay, we'll go now. We'll go now. We'll leave you, Monty. Hi, guys. Welcome back to Bookish English. In this video, we're going to look at some nature vocabulary. We're not actually out in the wild. We're at the Botanic Gardens, so it's sort of organized nature, but it's a very nice place to come for a walk. My mom is again helping me film this video. Hi, Mum. Okay, guys, let's get going. This is the sign that's out the front of the gardens. Okay, it's not nature vocabulary, but I thought there were some interesting things here. I think it's quite obvious what these mean. No dogs, no bikes, no skateboards. They also use reclaimed water. Basically, they're using treated sewage water, and you shouldn't drink it. I guess they have these so they don't get sued. Some warnings. There are some, like ponds and things, so you should be careful where you walk. I suppose that's what they mean by water hazard. Um, the ground is a bit uneven in places, so some places it's not totally flat or smooth. There can be falling branches. In other words, bits falling from trees. And there is some wildlife in here, so there are some animals wandering around. As they say, use of this facility may be hazardous. Please be careful. So we're going to do our best not to fall in the water. This thing behind me is a pond. This area of water and the plants on the pond are called lilies. Oh, look, there's an animal. There's some sort of lizard in there. Can you see it? There's some wildlife. It's not moving. I think it's real. There you can see another lizard enjoying the sun. Now, this here is called a stump. It's the bit that's left of the tree when it's been cut. This type of plant here is called a vine. A vine is a plant that grows on other things. It sort of climbs and clings to other plants and structures. What we're walking on here are called paths. That's a path. That's another path. We're not actually allowed to go down this path, but those plants that you can see in there that grow in the water, those are mangroves. Mangroves. This thing here is a sprinkler. It's what they use to water the gardens if there's not enough rain. Here we have another stump, and on the ground we've got various things. There are lots of dead leaves. These are dead leaves. There are also lots of sticks. Now, a stick is something like this. But if the stick is quite thin, like these ones, we call them twigs. So a twig is just a thin stick. Here we have another vine. Like I said, a vine is a plant that grows on something else. So here we have a vine growing on this big tree. Here we have another tree. I'm sure you know that word. The outer part of the tree is called bark. This is bark. It's a bit like the skin of a tree. This here is a big piece of bark that was on the ground. Some trees regularly shed their bark. That means that they lose their bark. The bark falls down. After they shed their bark, new bark grows. And here are a couple of things that you don't find in nature but are still good to know. This area here where it goes down is a gutter. You also have gutters in the street and also on houses. It's where rainwater goes. These little rocks here are called gravel. It's uncountable, so we say some gravel. This plant here is called a fern. So all of these plants here, they're ferns. This is another type of fern. This is called a tree fern. And this here is a bench, which is something that we often have in gardens and parks. These are the roots of a very large tree. Here you can see more of the tree. The roots are the part that go under the ground. Okay, guys, I'm very excited because I didn't expect to see this here. The green stuff growing on this path is called moss. Moss. It often grows on rocks and trees. It grows in damp places. Damp means a bit wet. It needs quite a lot of water to grow. That bird there is called a bush turkey, and they're very common in this region of Australia. That big bird there is a kookaburra. That's the bird that's got the really interesting laugh. Here we have another tree. The main central part of a tree is called the trunk. The pieces that grow out from the trunk are called branches. This here is a branch. On this tree, you can really see a lot of the roots. Normally, roots are underground, but here a lot of them are above ground. And there's the bush turkey. This bird over here is called an ibis. They eat basically anything they can find, so you often see them on school playgrounds after lunch. Here we have another bird. That there is a duck showing us its behind. This is another pond. It's much bigger than the one we saw before, but we'd still call this a pond. The plants on the pond are called lilies, water lilies. And there's our friend the duck. I'm not sure if you can see it, but down there we have a turtle. This bird here is building a nest. That little pile there, that's a type of nest. Now these trees here are palm trees. Here we have a few different types of palm trees. Here we have some flowers. This part of the flower is called the stem. This is a stem. These things here on the outside are petals. This flower has lots of petals. The powdery stuff in the middle is called pollen. Pollen. That's the stuff that causes lots of allergies. This little thing here is called a bud. So before a flower blooms, before it opens, it's a bud. So a bud is like a baby flower. These flowers are called daisies. There are lots of different types of daisies, though. As you can see, I'm on the grass here. I know that in some places in the world, you're not supposed to walk on the grass in public gardens, but here it's allowed and, sometimes they even have signs in places that say, "Please walk on the grass." Here we have a rose bush. There's only one rose on it at the moment, but there are lots of buds, which means that it will probably be in full bloom very soon. If a plant is in full bloom, that means there are lots of flowers on it. Now, roses have something a little bit special. They have thorns. There are other plants with thorns, but roses are well known for having thorns. Thorns are the little sharp things that grow from the stems. These little plants here are called weeds. Weeds are plants that are generally undesirable and grow very quickly. There aren't a lot of weeds in the botanic gardens because there are gardeners here. In other words, there are people who are paid to take care of the gardens and get rid of the weeds. And by the way, weed is a slang term for marijuana as well. Remember that there's a baby crying. Bugger off. Oh, it's tough filming outside. The bush turkey was interested in my bag. Hi guys, welcome back to Bookish English. Today, we are going to learn some bathroom vocabulary. This isn't actually my bathroom. This is my parents' bathroom. It's the main bathroom in my parents' house. My bathroom is a little smaller, so I thought this one would be a bit more interesting. Okay, so we'll start with the mirror. That's me in the mirror, obviously. And below we have the bathroom sink. So this space here is the sink, and this is the tap. That's for the cold water. That's for the hot water. That is hand soap, okay? So we call this hand soap because it's specifically for our hands when we wash our hands. I think that's pretty logical. Okay. Here we have some tissues. In American English, they're normally called Kleenex because Kleenex is a very popular brand of tissue. There we have a fake plant. My mum used to have lots of real plants, but she got a bit tired of maintaining them, so now we have some quite realistic-looking fake plants. Okay, over here we have a brush. This is a nail brush. These are, well, I call them Q-tips, but there are a few different words for these. Here we have some toothpaste. I'm sure you know what that is for. Toothpaste. Here we have a toothbrush. It's a regular toothbrush, and here we have an electric toothbrush. Some people, like to joke about these, and they'll say that these can be used for more than one thing, because they vibrate. I'm not passing any judgment, but in case you're wondering, mine is just used to clean my teeth. This is moisturizer for the face. This is also moisturizer, but this is tinted moisturizer. It's also called BB cream. Okay, now, it's called tinted moisturizer because it has some color in it. It makes you look like you have a bit of a tan. This is also moisturizer. Clears throat. Excuse me. This is also moisturizer, but it's for the hands and the body. It's probably very similar to this, but well, I guess they figure they can make more money if they put a different word on the label. Here we have a night light. This is quite clever because even though it's plugged in and the power is turned on, it detects that there is light, so it is off, but when it's dark, it comes back on. In Australia, we normally have switches next to power, or on power outlets, so right at the power point. It's just an extra safety feature. So that means there will be no power, and with that, the power is on. What else? Here we have a towel. This is called a hand towel because we use it to dry our hands. And be careful of the pronunciation. We don't usually say handy towel. We link it and we say hand towel. Hand towel. Down there we have a bin. There's nothing in it at the moment because I just emptied it, but yeah, that's a bin. Ah, yes. And down here we have a hairdryer. Hairdryer. That down there is a bath mat. Okay? And on the floor, these are tiles. Tiles. There are also some tiles on the wall, like, for example, these. These are tiles. Okay? And there we have the toilet. Next to the toilet is the toilet brush, and that is a toilet roll holder. Okay? It holds toilet rolls. It holds toilet paper. Okay? Toilet paper. Very useful stuff. Here we have a bath. So you could call this a bath, or you could call it a bathtub. So bath or bathtub. That's a soap holder. So normally there's soap in there, and this is a plug. So this is what we put in here if we want to have a bath. This is a hose. So a bit different from the hose to the types of hoses that we have in gardens, but we would also call this a hose. Maybe a shower hose or a bath hose. Okay? This is a regular towel. So you could just call it a towel. Or, if you want to be specific, you could call it a bath towel. Here we have the shower. This shower is, well, it's particularly big. I think it's a little bit excessive. We don't really need showers this big, but I don't know. I didn't design the house, and neither did my parents. This is a walk-in shower because you walk into it and it's flat. You can walk around. Some showers are like in bathtubs. We wouldn't call those walk-in showers. These are doors. More specifically, they are glass sliding doors 'cause they slide. It's now apparently illegal to make shower doors with this type of material. In other words, glass with small pieces of wire, because if you fall, it can cause more damage. Yeah. But this house was built in the 1980s, so we still have that. Okay, what else? Okay, hot water, cold water. We call this the shower head. Shower head. And here we have a rack. This here, this brown stuff is rust. Because obviously, if you have metal, that is exposed to water very frequently, often it will rust. So, to rust, and the noun is rust, and the adjective is rusty. Here we have some soap in the soap holder. This is a face washer. We wouldn't call this a face towel. We would call this a washer or a face washer. I'm sure you know these words. This is shampoo, and this is conditioner. Be careful of the pronunciation. It's not conditioner, it's conditioner. The first vowel is a schwa. Conditioner. Conditioner. And that is some face wash. And that is another bath mat. Oh yes, and I forgot about this. This is a shower cap. Something you can put over your hair if you don't want it to get wet when you're having a bath or a shower. Because, oopsies. Hi guys. Welcome back to Bookish English. Today, I have a craft and DIY vocabulary video for you. So we will look at nouns and verbs related to craft and DIY. DIY simply means do it yourself, and normally it refers to doing things around the house, like decorating, renovating, or repairing. But sometimes people also use the term DIY for crafts. You've probably heard lots of teachers say that it's best to learn vocabulary in context, and repetition is also important, which is why I'm going to do a demonstration for you today. If you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry, you will see. There is a method to the madness. Now, because it's the Christmas season, I thought we could make a beautiful Christmas decoration. To make this decoration, what you need is a piece of green cardboard. You will need a marker, a pencil, a ruler, a paper clip, some sequins, some ribbon, and some scissors. Remember, this is, it's not countable. You can't say a scissors. You have to say some scissors, or simply scissors. And finally, you will need some glue. It's best if you can find some wood glue or craft glue. Those are basically the same things. It's for gluing what? Material, like fabric, paper, or cardboard. But if you don't have that, you can use super glue. Super glue is the really powerful glue that can glue your fingertips together or your eyelids. I don't know why you would have it near your eyes, but it's good to know the risks. I'm sure it's happened. Okay, so let's get started. You need to get your cardboard and draw the shape of a Christmas tree. It will be easier if you use a ruler. Once you've drawn the shape of your Christmas tree, you need to get your scissors and cut it out. Cut out. Okay. Oh, shoot. I forgot the little thing. What's that called? Anyway, you know what I mean. This bit here. So we'll get a piece of this. Another piece of cardboard. Cut it. Now we'll get some sticky tape, and we will stick it to that. Okay, there we go. That's better. Just a little bit on this side. Okay. Now we are going to take our marker and draw the tinsel. It's really strange. This tiny little thing can be called so many things. Some people call them felt tip markers. In the US, they're sometimes called magic markers, or sometimes Sharpie because, oopsies, because Sharpie is a brand. In Australia, we call them Textus because Texta is a brand. But if you call them markers or felt tip pens, everybody will understand you. Okay, so you take your marker and you draw some tinsel. Just something like that. Okay, now we are going to add some sequins. So you need to open the packet. Oops. See. Now, to stick the sequins to your tree, you're going to need some glue. Well, we'll first put it here. Okay, like this. Then you are going to take... What did I do with that? Oh yes, a toothpick. And you're going to put some glue onto the tree. Just like that. Little dots where we can then put the sequins on. Okay, once you've put the glue on, you can put your sequins on. I hope they stick. Yes, life is sometimes kind. Oh, doesn't that look pretty? Right, so you'll have something that looks like that. Just gorgeous. Now, of course, we need something to attach it to the tree because this is a Christmas tree decoration. What you can do is get a paper clip and then bend it. So, to bend means to do something like that. Like to go like that. So we're going to bend the paper clip to make something, that will allow us to attach it to the tree. So we need to put a little hole in here. Oops. Be careful of your fingers. Pencil. Okay, there we go. And that is a bit... I think it would be much better, though, if we use some ribbon. Okay. So we take out the paper clip. Yes, we'll use some green ribbon. Ribbon traditionally, was made of fabric, so it would... Traditionally, ribbon, is something like this, but nowadays ribbon is often made of plastic and things like that. Okay, so we'll take some ribbon, probably enough, and then, once you have it through the hole... Oops, they're falling off. I'll fix that later. You can then tie a knot. We need to do a double knot if it's going to stay. So we have the single knot, and then we can do a double knot. There we go. That is much better. If you don't have any ribbon, you can use string. This is string. When string starts to get a bit thick, we no longer call it string. We start to call it rope. So if you have something like this, something that's quite thick, rope can be like really thick. You know, like the things that they use on boats. But we would also call this rope. String is something quite thin. I think we're done. What do you think, Frank? Do you think it's beautiful? He's so loyal. See you next time. Hi, guys. Welcome back to Bookish English. Because it's such a nice day today, I thought it would be a good opportunity to show you my backyard, and in doing so, teach you some backyard and garden-related vocabulary. Now, some people do use the words backyard and garden interchangeably. Technically, there is a slight difference. When you say garden, people normally think of a place with lots of plants. Flowers, vegetables, that sort of thing. And a yard is just an area of land that's normally enclosed by a fence or something, and that is attached to a building. But seeing as most backyards have some sort of plants in them, we can say backyard or garden. Okay, let's have a look. So, starting there, We have the back door, or one of the back doors, and that leads out onto our patio. This is a covered patio because it has a roof over it. It's a bit of a mess at the moment because it's not actually summer yet, and we don't really use it until it gets quite hot. It's spring in Australia at the moment, which means it's quite warm, but unlike in Europe where people will rush outside when it's 22 degrees, that's still a little bit cold for us, so we're waiting till it gets really hot, and in a couple of months, I'll show you what it looks like when we set it up nicely and sit outside here for cocktails. Along here, you see a fence with vines on it, and just there, you see some wind chimes. I made this in school when I was younger. I thought it was very artistic. But yeah, we think lots of interesting things when we're teenagers. Now here we have more plants. Unfortunately, I don't know their names, but I do know that that is a palm tree. We actually have 3 palm trees in our garden. Now, in the corner there, we used to have a fish pond, but it was becoming a bit too much work, and there was only 1 fish left. We had 3 to begin with, but after a while, we just had, 1 rather large fish. That there with the water, it isn't exactly a fountain. We would just call this a water feature. And next to it is a lamp. There we have a statue. This door here is our laundry door. So it's our other back door. And next to that, you can see our hot water heater. That there is our shed, which is where we keep tools, our lawnmower, and other things for the house and garden. This piece of concrete is, of course, a path, and the path leads to the clothesline. The clothesline is where we normally hang our wet clothes and sheets to dry, but, today you can see Frank and George there. They were a bit dirty, so we put them through the washing machine and hung them out here to dry in the sun. This particular type of clothesline is very specific to Australia and New Zealand. It was invented in Australia about 100 years ago, and it's called a Hills hoist. It's really quite clever because you can take this lever here and increase, or decrease the height. Bye-bye, guys. There is one more thing I want to show you. This is the garden hose, so you use this to water plants or to clean things. Hello. Welcome to Bookish English. In today's video, I'm going to teach you the names of common kitchen utensils. I'm also going to explain some of their, perhaps, not so common uses. Let's start with my favorite utensil, the bottle opener. You use this to open bottles. That is, of course, if you don't want to use your teeth or your eye socket. Very classy. And now, my second favorite utensil, the can opener. Some can openers look like this, but I prefer these ones. A can opener is used to open these things. Cans. That is, of course, if they don't have this handy ring on top. I'm sure it's happened to all of us. You go to the supermarket, you see a tin, you think, oh, that looks good. Well, it's probably just because you're cheap and too lazy to cook. But anyway, you take it home, you want to open it and you see this. Another necessity of life is this: a corkscrew. Corkscrews are rather useful if you live in one of the many European countries that still insist on using these corks, hence corkscrew. Because after all, these bottles are just so much more difficult to open, and the wine doesn't taste nearly as good because there's no cork in it.